hands and women wants to stand. I roll in my jag, fast like the wind. Everybody's on the board, room to the streets. I'm the man with the plan. Got the world in my hands, every woman wants to stand. I roll in my jag, fast like the wind. Every mission I take, you know I'm gonna win. Ladies on my left, danger on the right, but it's love and respect that I'm bringing to the fight.
I'm the dad with the 9 lives, playing the game. A heart full of fire, can't be tamed. In the shadows I roam, but I shine so bright. With every step I take, I'm doing it right.
Got my eyes on the prize, but my heart's in the beat. J Cats on the mic, bring the heat to the street. When it comes to the ladies, I'm smooth like silk, but don't get it twisted. I'm the man with the milk. For every tear that falls, I'm the hand to hold. In this world of chaos, I'm the story untold. With every breath I take, every move I make, I'm writing my name in the history is fate.
I'm the dad with the 9 lives, playing the game. A heart full of fire, can't be tamed. In the shadows I roam, but I shine so bright. With every step I take, I'm doing it right.
Got my eyes on the prize, but my heart's in the beat. J Cats on the mic, bringing heat to the street. When it comes to the ladies, I'm smooth like silk, but don't get it twisted. I'm the man with...
Welcome to the adventures of J Cat, where thrills meet tenderness in a captivating blend of sexy, excitement and romance. Hosted by the adventurous Jay Bahari, this hip podcast invites listeners to embark on exhilarating journeys filled with captivating stories and heartfelt moments. Each episode explores the intriguing intersections of adventure and love, transporting you to breathtaking romance and inspiring tales that will leave you yearning for your own escapades. Whether you're a seasoned traveler, a hopeless romantic, or simply someone who appreciates a great story, J Cat Adventures promises a delightful escape into the extraordinary, sparking your imagination and igniting your wanderlust. Tune in and let the adventures begin.
My hands and women wants to stand. I roll in my jag, fast like the wind. Everybody's on the board, room to the streets. I'm the man with the plan. Got the world in my hands, every woman wants to stand. I roll in my jag, fast like the wind. Every mission I take, you know I'm gonna win. Ladies on my left, danger on the right, but it's love and respect that I'm bringing to the fight.
I'm the dad with the 9 lives, playing the game. A heart full of fire.
A different cat. J Cat emerges as a man of complexity and depth, defined by the duality of his nature. At the story's outset, he is a figure consumed by grief and vengeance, driven by the brutal loss of Camille, the woman he loved more than life itself. This J Cat is relentless, hardened by his pain, and unyielding in his pursuit of justice. He is a no-nonsense, powerful force in every room he enters, commanding respect and fear with equal measure. His style is sharp, his words are precise, and his demeanor is that of a man on a mission with nothing left to lose. But as the story unfolds, we witness a transformation. The J Cat we once knew, cold, calculated, and fueled by anger, begins to evolve. The echoes of Camille's love, long buried beneath layers of rage, start to resurface. This J Cat is more introspective, his tough exterior slowly giving way to the vulnerability of a man who realizes that love, not hate, is the true source of his strength. He is still powerful and commanding, but now there is a softness in his approach, a warmth that had been lost to the darkness. By the story's conclusion, J Cat is a man reborn. He retains the sharpness of his edge, the skill, and the authority that make him formidable, but there is a new dimension to him, a man who understands that the greatest battles are often fought within. This J Cat is no longer driven by revenge alone, but by the desire to honor Camille's memory by embracing life and love once more. He is a man who has found peace in the midst of turmoil, who has learned to let go of hate, and who has discovered that true power lies in the ability to heal, to forgive, and to love again. In the heart of a world overshadowed by loss and vengeance, J Cat had become a man defined by his relentless pursuit of justice for the love he once lost. The darkness of hate had consumed him, driving him to the edge of his humanity. But deep within, the echoes of a profound love still resonated, calling him back from the brink. In eternal echoes, love beyond the hate, J-Cat's journey is one of transformation, where the power of love begins to heal the wounds of the past, replacing hate with hope and darkness with light. As he confronts the shadows that have haunted him, J-Cat discovers that true strength lies not in revenge, but in the enduring legacy of a love that refuses to be forgotten.
My hands, everyone wants to stand. I roll in my jack, fast like the wind. Everybody's on the board, room to the streets. I'm the man with the plan. Got the world in my hands. Every woman wants to stand. I roll in my jack, fast like the wind. Every mission I take, you know I'm gonna win. Ladies on my left, danger on the right, but it's love and respect that I'm bringing to the fight.
On the path with the 9 lives, playing the game.
Hi, I am your host Jay Bahari. Let's go. The city of Paris was bathed in the golden hues of early evening, its streets alive with the hum of life. The Eiffel Tower stood tall, casting a shadow over the Seine, while the aroma of freshly baked bread and blooming flowers filled the air. It was here, in this city of love, that J-Cat found himself drawn into a chase unlike any other. J-Cat, the ever-confident, sharply dressed international agent with a knack for getting what he wanted, was used to being in control. His life had always been a series of calculated moves, each decision precise and deliberate. He had built a reputation as a man who never missed a beat, always staying 2 steps ahead of his enemies. But tonight, as he stood on the balcony of a Parisian hotel, he felt a shift within himself, an emotion he had long buried. The source of this change was the woman who had walked into his life 6 months ago, a woman who was as mysterious as she was beautiful. Her name was Camille, a French journalist with a sharp mind and a heart of gold. They had met during one of J-Cat's assignments, a whirlwind of danger and intrigue that had somehow led them to each other. At first, it had been strictly business. Camille was his contact, a means to an end. But as they worked together, chasing leads and uncovering secrets, something deeper began to form between them. Camille was different from the other women J-Cat had known. She was strong, independent, and unafraid to challenge him, to push him to be better. She saw through his facade, recognizing the man beneath the bravado, and slowly, she began to break down the walls he had built around his heart. J-Cat, the man who had always prided himself on being emotionally detached, found himself falling for her. It was unexpected, unplanned, and entirely out of his control. The current chase they were on was supposed to be like any other, a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, with J-Cat leading the charge. But this time, it was different. The target was a notorious art thief who had eluded capture for years, a man who had stolen priceless works of art from some of the most secure museums in the world. The chase had taken J-Cat and Camille from London to Rome, and now, to Paris, where the final confrontation was set to take place. As they sat in a small cafe, their eyes locked across the table, J-Cat felt a sense of dread wash over him. He knew this chase would be dangerous, more dangerous than anything they had faced before. And for the first time in his life, he was afraid, not for himself, but for Camille. The thought of losing her, of not being able to protect her, was a weight on his chest that he couldn't shake. "You're quiet tonight," Camille said, her voice soft and full of concern. J-Cat looked up, meeting her gaze. Her eyes, usually so full of fire, were now filled with a tenderness that took his breath away. "Just thinking," he replied, forcing a smile. "We have a big day tomorrow." She reached across the table, taking his hand in hers. "We'll get through it, like we always do." He nodded, squeezing her hand gently. But as the night wore on, the fear in his heart grew. This chase was different, not just because of the target, but because of what was at stake. He realized then that his feelings for Camille were more than just a fleeting attraction, they were real, deep, and all-consuming. The next morning, the air was crisp with the promise of a new day. J-Cat and Camille stood on the rooftop of an old building in the heart of Paris, their eyes fixed on the art thief's hideout across the street. The plan was simple. J-Cat would go in first, drawing the thief out, while Camille provided backup. But as they prepared to move, J-Cat felt a knot of tension in his stomach. "Be careful," Camille whispered, her voice trembling slightly. He turned to her, cupping her face in his hands. "I will," he promised, his voice thick with emotion. "But you need to promise me something too. Anything. If something goes wrong, you get out of here. Don't worry about me, just go." Camille's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. "I promise." With that, J-Cat pressed his lips to hers in a kiss that spoke of everything he couldn't say, the fear, the love, the desperate hope that they would both make it through this alive. When they pulled apart, he gave her one last look before slipping away into the shadows. The chase that followed was intense, with J-Cat and the thief engaging in a high-stakes game of cat and mouse through the streets of Paris. But even as he pursued the man, his thoughts were never far from Camille. He could feel her presence, her strength, pushing him forward, driving him to finish the job so that they could be together. In the end, it all came to a head in a narrow alleyway, where J-Cat finally cornered the thief. The man was dangerous, armed and desperate, but J-Cat was relentless. With a final burst of energy, he disarmed the thief and brought him down, securing him with a set of handcuffs. As the police arrived to take the thief away, J-Cat leaned against the wall, his heart pounding. The chase was over, but the real prize was yet to come. He made his way back to the cafe where Camille was waiting, his steps quickening as he got closer. When he walked through the door and saw her sitting there, unharmed and safe, relief washed over him like a wave. Camille looked up, and when their eyes met, she broke into a smile that lit up the room. J-Cat crossed the distance between them in seconds, pulling her into his arms and holding her close. "I was so scared," she whispered, her voice muffled against his chest. "Me too," he admitted, burying his face in her hair. "But it's over now. We're safe." They stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, for what felt like an eternity. In that moment, nothing else mattered, just the two of them, together, alive, and in love. As the days passed, J-Cat and Camille's relationship deepened. They spent their time exploring Paris, enjoying the city's beauty and the freedom that came with knowing the chase was over. They walked along the Seine, shared quiet dinners in cozy bistros, and talked about their future, a future that they both knew would be spent together. One evening, as they watched the sunset from the top of the Eiffel Tower, J-Cat turned to Camille, his heart full of love. "I never thought I'd find someone like you," he said, his voice raw with emotion. "You've changed my life in ways I can't even begin to describe." Camille smiled, her eyes shining with tears. "I feel the same way, J-Cat. I love you." He pulled her close, pressing a tender kiss to her lips. "I love you too," he whispered against her skin. And as they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, the city of Paris spread out before them. J-Cat knew that he had found something far more valuable than any mission or chase. He had found love. A love that was real, passionate, and enduring. A love that would see them through whatever challenges lay ahead. In the heart of the chase, J-Cat had found his greatest treasure, Camille. And with her by his side, he knew that their story was just beginning, with the promise of a happily ever after that would last a lifetime. The days following their victory were blissful, a serene lull after the storm. J-Cat and Camille slipped into a rhythm that felt so natural, it was as if they had been together for years. The once hectic and dangerous life of a high-stakes international agent was replaced, at least temporarily, by a life filled with simple pleasures, late morning coffees, strolls through Montmartre, and whispered conversations in the quiet of the night. But as peaceful as these days were, there was something unspoken lingering between them, a question neither had dared to voice. J-Cat, despite his hardened exterior, found himself grappling with emotions he had never expected to feel. For years, he had lived for the thrill of the chase, the excitement of the hunt, and the satisfaction of a job well done. Love, real love, had always seemed like a luxury he couldn't afford. But now, with Camille, he was beginning to wonder if it was possible to have both. One afternoon, as they lounged in the sunlit garden of their rented Parisian apartment, Camille broke the silence. "What happens now?" she asked softly, her fingers tracing patterns on the back of his hand. J-Cat looked at her, his brow furrowing slightly. "What do you mean?" Camille turned to face him fully, her expression earnest. Us. What happens next? Do we go back to our old lives? Do you return to your missions and I go back to chasing stories?" He was silent for a long moment, considering her words. In his heart, he knew the truth. He couldn't imagine going back to the way things were before. Not without her. But the life he led was dangerous, unpredictable, and full of risks that he didn't want to subject her to. "I don't want to go back," he admitted finally, his voice low. "But my life, it's not exactly conducive to a relationship." Camille smiled, though there was a hint of sadness in her eyes. "I know what your life is like, J-Cat. I've been by your side through some of the most dangerous moments, and I've never been afraid. Not with you." Her words touched him deeply, but they also filled him with a sense of guilt. "You deserve more than this, Camille. You deserve a life where you're not constantly looking over your shoulder, wondering if today might be the day it all goes wrong." Camille reached out, cupping his face in her hands. "I don't want more. I want you." And if that means living a life that's a little bit dangerous, then so be it. We'll face it together. J-Cat closed his eyes, leaning into her touch. The thought of losing her was unbearable, but so was the thought of living without her. Are you sure? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I've never been more sure of anything in my life, she replied, her voice steady and filled with conviction. He opened his eyes, meeting her gaze. In that moment, he made a decision that would change everything. Then I'm in, he said, a small smile tugging at the corners of his lips. No more running, no more hiding. We'll face whatever comes our way, together. Camille's smile widened, and she leaned in to kiss him, a kiss that was filled with the promise of a future they would build together. When they finally pulled apart, they were both breathless, their hearts pounding in sync. How about we start with dinner? J-Cat suggested, his voice lightening as the weight of uncertainty lifted from his shoulders. Dinner sounds perfect, Camille agreed, her eyes twinkling with happiness. That evening, they dined at a small, candle-lit bistro tucked away in a quiet corner of Paris. The food was exquisite, the wine flowed freely, and the conversation was filled with laughter and warmth. For the first time in a long time, J-Cat allowed himself to fully relax, to enjoy the moment without worrying about what dangers might lurk around the corner. After dinner, they took a leisurely stroll along the Seine, the cool night air wrapping around them like a blanket. The city was alive with lights and sounds, but it felt as though they were the only two people in the world. J-Cat held Camille's hand, their fingers intertwined, as they walked in comfortable silence. When they reached the bridge where they had shared their first kiss, J-Cat stopped, turning to face Camille. I love you, he said, the words coming out easily now, with no hesitation. I didn't realize how much until I almost lost you. But I know it now, and I'm not letting you go. Camille's eyes filled with tears, but they were tears of joy. I love you too, she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. More than I ever thought possible. They stood there for a long time, wrapped in each other's arms, the city of Paris spread out before them. And in that moment, they both knew that they had found something truly special, something worth fighting for, no matter what the future might hold. As the night grew late, they made their way back to their apartment, where they spent the rest of the evening wrapped in each other's embrace, the world outside fading away. The chase was over, but their journey together was just beginning. Over the next few weeks, J-Cat and Camille settled into a new routine, one that balanced the excitement of their past lives with the quiet joys of their present. They traveled together, taking on new adventures and challenges, but always with the understanding that they were a team, a partnership built on love, trust, and an unbreakable bond. In the end, J-Cat realized that the heart of the chase wasn't about the thrill of the hunt or the satisfaction of catching the target. It was about the connection he had found with Camille, the love that had grown between them, and the future they would build together. And as they stood on the balcony of their new home, looking out over the rolling hills of the French countryside, J-Cat knew that he had finally found what he had been searching for all along, his heart, his home, and his happily ever after with Camille. The days rolled by in a seamless blend of passion and serenity, each moment with Camille deepening the bond that had formed between them. J-Cat had never known this kind of peace before, an equilibrium between the thrill of his past and the gentle promise of a future with someone he truly loved. As their new life together unfolded, it was as though every piece of their world clicked into place, effortlessly forming a mosaic of shared experiences and mutual trust. One morning, as the sun streamed through the large windows of their country home, J-Cat found himself awake before Camille. He watched her sleep, her chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm, her hair splayed across the pillow. The quiet beauty of the moment made his heart swell with a kind of contentment he had never expected to feel. It was as if, in the soft light of dawn, he could finally see the life he had always wanted but had been too afraid to admit. As Camille began to stir, she opened her eyes and smiled at him, a slow, sleepy smile that made his pulse quicken. "Morning," she murmured, her voice still thick with sleep. "Morning," he replied, leaning down to press a gentle kiss to her forehead. "How did you sleep?" "Perfectly," she sighed, snuggling closer to him. "I always sleep well when I'm with you." J-Cat couldn't help but smile at her words. "Good to know," he said, his tone teasing. "But we've got a busy day ahead." Camille looked up at him with a mix of curiosity and amusement. "Oh? What's on the agenda?" "Just a little something I've been planning," J-Cat replied, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Get dressed, and I'll show you." Curiosity piqued, Camille quickly got ready, and soon they were out the door, hand in hand. They drove through the winding roads of the countryside, the fresh morning air invigorating their senses. After a short drive, J-Cat pulled up to a secluded spot overlooking a vast vineyard, the rows of grapevines stretching out as far as the eye could see. Camille gasped at the sight, her eyes wide with wonder. "It's beautiful," she whispered. J-Cat nodded, his gaze fixed on the landscape before them. "I thought you might like it here," he said, his voice low and thoughtful. "It's quiet, peaceful. A place where we can build something lasting." Camille turned to look at him, her heart swelling with emotion. "You want to stay here?" she asked, her voice filled with hope. J-Cat met her gaze, his expression serious. "I want to build a life with you, Camille. Wherever that takes us. But I've been thinking. Maybe this could be our home. A place where we can grow old together, where we can create something beautiful out of everything we've been through." Tears welled up in Camille's eyes, but she smiled through them, her heart full to bursting. "I would love that," she said softly. "More than anything." They stood there for a moment, taking in the view and the enormity of what they were committing to, a life together, full of love and challenges, of quiet moments and shared triumphs. J-Cat felt a weight lift from his shoulders, the burden of his past life fading into the background as the future he had once feared became something he now embraced wholeheartedly. That evening, they returned to their country home, their hearts light with the promise of what was to come. J-Cat cooked dinner, the kitchen filled with the comforting scents of garlic and rosemary, as Camille set the table. It was a simple meal, grilled fish, fresh vegetables, and a bottle of wine from the vineyard they had visited, but it was perfect in its simplicity, a reflection of the life they were building together. After dinner, they retired to the living room, the fire crackling in the hearth as they curled up on the couch, wrapped in each other's arms. The conversation flowed easily, punctuated by laughter and the occasional kiss, until eventually, the room fell into a comfortable silence. J-Cat looked down at Camille, her head resting on his chest, and felt a wave of emotion wash over him. "I've never been happier than I am right now," he admitted, his voice thick with sincerity. "You've given me something I didn't even know I needed." Camille looked up at him, her eyes shining with love. "And you've given me everything I've ever wanted," she replied, her voice soft and full of emotion. They sat there for a long time, basking in the warmth of the fire and the love they shared, content in the knowledge that they had found something rare and precious. As the night wore on, they eventually made their way to bed, where they fell asleep wrapped in each other's arms, secure in the knowledge that they would face whatever the future held together. The next morning, as the first light of dawn filtered through the curtains, J-Cat woke up to find Camille already awake, watching him with a tender smile. "Good morning," she whispered, leaning in to kiss him. "Good morning," he replied, pulling her closer. "What's on your mind?" Camille hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I've been thinking. About the vineyard. About us." J-Cat felt his heart skip a beat, but he kept his tone light. "What about it?" "I think we should do it," Camille said, her voice filled with quiet determination. "I think we should make it our home." J-Cat looked at her, his heart swelling with love and pride. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely," she replied, her smile widening. "I want to build a life with you, J-Cat. A life that's full of love, and laughter, and all the little moments that make life worth living." J-Cat felt a lump form in his throat, but he swallowed it down, his own smile spreading across his face. "Then let's do it," he said, his voice firm with conviction. "Let's build that life together." And so they did. Over the following months, J-Cat and Camille worked tirelessly to transform the vineyard into their dream home. They planted new vines, renovated the old farmhouse, and created a space that was uniquely theirs, a place where they could build a future filled with love, laughter, and all the little moments that made life worth living. As time passed, their love only grew stronger, deepening with each shared experience, each challenge overcome, each joy celebrated. They faced the ups and downs of life together, always knowing that they had each other to rely on. And through it all, J-Cat never lost sight of the fact that he had finally found what he had been searching for all along. The heart of the chase wasn't about the thrill of the hunt, but about finding someone to share the journey with, someone who made every moment worthwhile. J-Cat and Camille built a life that was rich in love and happiness, a life that was full of all the little things that made life worth living. And as they stood on the porch of their vineyard home, watching the sun set over the rolling hills, they knew that they had found something truly special, a love that would last a lifetime, and beyond. To be continued. And that's a wrap on this episode of J-Cat Adventures. I hope you've enjoyed the journey and the excitement. Don't forget to subscribe or simply get in touch with me by video call, audio call, or audio text chat. Let me know if you enjoyed the podcast. I would love to know what you think about J-Cat Adventures. Until next time, keep your spirit of adventure alive, and remember, the world is full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. This is Jay Bahari, signing off. Stay curious, stay bold, and keep exploring. Also, you can find J-Cat products at www.jcatadventures.com and at Amazon.
I'm the cat with the nine lives playing the game. A heart full of fire, can't be tamed. In the shadows I roam, but I shine so bright. With every step I take, I'm doing it right. Doing it right. Got my eyes on the prize, but my heart's in the beat. J-Cat's on the mic, bringing heat to the street. When it comes to the ladies, I'm smooth like silk, but don't get it twisted, I'm the man with the milk. For every tear that falls, I'm the hand to hold. In this world of chaos, I'm the story untold. With every breath I take, every move I make, I'm writing my name in the history is fate. I'm the cat with the nine lives playing the game. A heart full of fire, can't be tamed. In the shadows I roam, but I shine so bright. With every step I take, I'm doing it right. Doing it right.